The history of Islam has greatly contributed to human civilization. The early Muslims brought light to a world that was in darkness. They built a strong civilization and achieved great glory. They followed Allah's teachings and saved Muslims from losing their way. Their actions brought light to the earth, and their martyrs showed true devotion and sincerity. Allah raised the status of Islam through these righteous and faithful people. They shone like stars in the sky and like the moon on a dark night. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was one of these bright stars. Under his rule, a new phase of jihad began in the Levant. His goal was to unite Muslims and free their lands from occupation. He started an Islamic revival that stressed the need for living an Islamic life. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi brought order to the Muslims with his justice and hard work. He spread the light of Islam to many areas and worked tirelessly to unite the Muslim community. He improved their lives in every way, aiming to restore Islamic glory and remove the unjust Crusader occupation. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was born in 1118 CE, AH 511. His grandfather, Sunkur al-Hajib, ruled Aleppo and other areas in the Levant. His father, Zangi, raised in Iraq, ruled over Mosul and the Levant. Zangi successfully conquered Edessa, Al-Ma'ara, Kafratab, and many other cities, liberating them from the hands of the disbelievers. Known as Ibn al-Qasim, Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was born 20 years after Jerusalem fell to the Crusaders. He was tall, good-looking, and dark-skinned with a light beard. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was known for his deep religious devotion and strong moral character. He was skilled in calligraphy, a scholar of religion, and a follower of the Prophet's Sunnah. He regularly performed congregational prayers, recited the Quran beautifully, and was committed to doing good deeds. His nights were dedicated to prayer. He would perform the Isha prayer, sleep for a while, then wake up in the middle of the night to pray until dawn. He never spoke obscenely, whether pleased or angry. He valued words spoken for the sake of Allah and any advice aligned with the pure Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Despite his vast kingdom and treasury, he did not use his share of the booty or public funds for personal needs without consulting jurists for religious advice. He never kept gifts from other kings for himself, but sent them to the House of Treasury for rebuilding old mosques. He sought out honest men to learn about the needy in their communities and ensured service for all, regardless of social status. Prince Bahauddin Ali ibn as-Sukkari, a close friend, recounted an incident in the battlefield of Edessa. While their shadows moved with them, Nuruddin raced his horse and looked back, explaining that life flees from those who chase it and pursues those who avoid it. His ascetic lifestyle meant his expenses were similar to the poorest of his subordinates. When his wife complained about their hardships, he gave her the 3 shops he owned in Homs, emphasizing, "That is all I have. I will not touch the Muslims' money entrusted to me. I fear the wrath of Allah." In times of war, he was the most courageous and steadfast leader, employing unique tactics and always staying informed about his troops' conditions. He served as a role model in warfare. He conquered Aleppo and several other cities, including Egyptian territories that were on the verge of being overtaken by the Franks. He captured Frankish princes and defeated Roman and Frankish forces at Harim, a fortress in Aleppo. The Arab historian Ibn al-Athir remarked, "I have heard many people say that they had never seen a horseman better than him." Nuruddin believed in keeping horses active and well-trained, saying, "If we leave the horses in their stalls, they will not be able to race, turn smoothly, or obey the horsemen in the battlefield. I swear to Allah, that is what made me play polo." Even his enemies acknowledged his closeness to Allah. They noted that he won battles not because of the large number of soldiers, but due to his nightly prayers and supplications. He would pray and raise his hands high, asking Allah for help, and his prayers were answered. Nuruddin was a master strategist, particularly skilled in defeating the Franks and reclaiming their lands. He built numerous watchtowers along the borders of Frankish territories and sent efficient soldiers with carrier pigeons to send warnings back home if enemies were sighted, giving people time to prepare for defense. He treated his soldiers exceptionally well. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was a staunch defender of Sharia and the Sunnah. he built an institute for teaching hadith in Damascus, generously funding it and supporting those who worked there. He is believed to be the first ruler to establish such an institute for hadith studies. In Aleppo, he promoted the prophetic Sunnah, especially regarding the Adhan, call to prayer, and thwarted any evil plots and discord from dissenters. He established schools, charities, and spread justice. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was the first ruler to establish a court of justice. He attended its sessions 4 or 5 days a week, personally investigating and resolving people's problems. He only brought scholars and jurists with him, avoiding guards so that anyone, whether weak or strong, poor or rich, could approach him freely. He spoke kindly to everyone. Unlike the courts of other kings, his court focused on scientific and religious discussions, as well as consultations on jihad. It was free from debauchery, offensiveness, backbiting, defamation, or slander. Nuruddin's sense of justice was evident in his dedication to upholding pure Sharia. He often said, "We are created and employed for the sake of it, Sharia, and are required to fulfill its commandments." He never punished anyone based solely on accusations. He summoned witnesses and meticulously searched for evidence. Once evidence was found, he administered punishment according to Sharia without delay, applying the rule of law equally to soldiers and friends alike. At a time when excessive punishment based on suspicion was common elsewhere, Nuruddin, known as the Just King, avoided such methods, leading to security and prosperity in his vast kingdom. His application of justice and Sharia greatly reduced crime rates. He exempted the inhabitants of the Levant, Arabian Peninsula, Mosul, and Egyptian cities from paying taxes. He helped the oppressed regardless of their social status, treating everyone as equals. He listened to and personally investigated the complaints of the oppressed. One day, he entered the House of Treasury and saw a sum of money. Upon learning that it was sent by Judge Kamal ud-Din and collected from certain places, he said, "This money is not ours. We do not have any money in the places you mentioned." He then ordered the money to be returned. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi was deeply concerned with the public interest and the living conditions of his people. His primary focus was serving Islam and establishing the infrastructure of an Islamic state by building schools, mosques, and other essential institutions. He initiated numerous projects to benefit and protect Muslims and their territories. He built walls and castles in various Levantine regions, including Aleppo, Hama, Homs, Damascus, Shiraz, and Manbij, investing large sums of money into these projects. He also established Shafi'i and Hanafi schools in Aleppo, Hama, Damascus, and other cities, as well as mosques throughout Muslim lands. Nuruddin built many hospitals, with the one in Damascus being the largest. He endowed it for all Muslims, rich or poor. He constructed guest houses along roadsides to protect travelers' lives and property, providing warm and comfortable shelters in winter. He also built many orphanages, generously supporting orphans and their caregivers. As a thoughtful ruler, he granted large areas of land to Arab princes to prevent them from increasing taxes on pilgrims. He ordered the construction of a wall around Medina and the digging of a well at Mount Uhud. Additionally, he built bridges and dug numerous canals. Nuruddin Mahmud Zangi's contributions to public welfare were extensive, demonstrating his commitment to improving the lives of his people and strengthening the Islamic State.